Okay, so we're going to start lying on our back. So if you have got something you can pop underneath the sort of upper back, it could be just a normal size pillow, but just something that you can open that upper back with. So as you bring yourself onto your back, really allowing that chest to be wide open. And you can have the legs crossed, you can have the soles of the feet together and let the knees drop wide. Or maybe it's nicer to have the feet flat onto the floor just to support the lower back, if you don't want so much of an arch in that lower back. So feel what feels right for you and your spine. And then just allow those arms to be wide away from the body. And just allow your eyes to close. If you've got nothing like a pillow or anything, you can even just roll up a jumper towel underneath you, or happily just lie on your back. But just spread the arms nice and wide so the chest feels open. So just allowing yourself in these first few moments to land here this morning. And just allowing anything that's happened this morning or this past week or even this past month just to float on out of the room that you're in. And equally anything that you have to do today or the upcoming week or months. Just trying to push that out of the mind for now. Bringing your mind just gently to your breath. Just warning, the dog has a toy, so hopefully she won't squeak it, but so just allowing your breath to settle into a rhythm that feels comfortable for you. And just noticing this rhythm, noticing whether you choose to breathe through your nose, your mouth. And maybe if you're not already, just directing the breath a little bit lower so that it fills up that belly. So with each round of breath, just trying to fill the belly up maybe a little bit further. So maybe you're counting your breath. You can add on a second to your inhale. And the same with your exhale, just allowing it to fully expel all the air. Maybe when you think you've finished, just take an extra second. And if you're struggling to get the breath into the belly, or maybe just you feel that tension and tightness in the diaphragm, just going to bring our hands to that V shape where our ribs divide from our sternum. So we've got our sternum, our chest plate, and just as we pop down either side of that, we've got the edge of the rib cage. So just hook your fingertips into that, maybe stretch a little bit, pull gently side to side. Maybe have a little massage in and feel almost as if you can hook on underneath the rib cage and just feel what's going on in there. Give it all a little massage, all open to stimulate the diaphragm. And bring yourself up through the sternum so we get a little bit of massage going on to that leg of the Y shape that we've worked through to activate the diaphragm. So you might use your fingertips or your knuckles onto that sternum depending on how sensitive it is today. If it's really tight and sore, then we know we've been pretty kind of collapsed inwards and we need to expand and open in there. Partly for our diaphragm, partly for our heart centre, to allow it to be open wide, which may feel quite vulnerable. So just take another couple of belly breaths, just notice, oh, excuse me, if you get a yawn or a sigh or a swallow, that's all good signs that our body is dropping into that calmer parasympathetic state. So just seeing if the belly breath is now easier. You can also just place one finger in the centre of the sternum, pressing on what we call the Sea of Tranquility. It's just a little acupressure point. And there's one right on the top of the head, which not quite so nicely named as the Teletubby point. So you could just hold both of those. And again, just noticing what that might be doing to your breath. Trying to breathe in through nose and out through mouth, or at least in and out through the nose. I don't know if you could hear that, but my belly just did a nice big rumble. That's good. All that extra oxygen going into the belly. As that belly breath starts to really pump everything around through the body, which we need it to. So just let those arms drop back and open wide. Take a bit of a stretch as if you were sort of, oh, excuse me, sounds like I am waking out of bed. Maybe just bring the feet flat if they're not already. Just remove whatever's underneath you out of the way so that you can start to take some windscreen wipers with those feet and knees. So just allow the knees to drop side to side. Just let the windscreen wiper happen so the feet are as wide as the mat, but the knees, one rolls in, one rolls wide. And you can rock the head in the opposite direction to your knees. Puppy no. You little crazy dog. I want to call her a cat. I think she's half cat, half dog. Don't squeak it. And then start to draw your knees up and into your chest. So just give them a little hug, a little rock side to side. She was asleep a minute ago, I promise. Then just hook the hands underneath the backs of the knees, and we're just going to take a little rock and roll. So just nice gentle rocking and rolling, just make it nice and slow so the tummy is worked. So you bring you up. And then we'll just balance onto those sit bones. So we'll keep the feet and knees touching or close. Just make sure that spine is long. You might tap the feet down if you need to, or lift them more to 90 degrees. We can release the hands if it feels good. 3, squeeze the knees together, 2, and then just gently land those legs. So just start to take a nice opening of the chest. So cat-cow seated, so opening through the spine, looking up, and then rounding down, chin to chest. Inhale as we lift, and exhale as we round down. I don't really think I need a sausage dog on my mat, Poppy, other than you. Inhale, lift. Exhale, rounding down. So just moving with your own rhythm of breath. And then we'll just start to get some movement sideways of that rib cage. So just trying to slide the ribs over to one side, slide them back the other way. So trying to separate the ribs from the hips, really trying to feel into the side bodies, what needs stretching in there. And then we're going to combine both those moves by circling the rib cage around the hips. So we're just going to circle and let the head roll in the opposite direction if it feels okay. So we get that full figure of 8 going on through the spine. And then we'll reverse our circles back the other way. Oh, click, clonk, get rid of all of those. And then just coming back to centre. So this time we're going to keep our torso and our hips all in one line. And we're going to circle round. So lean over to the side. So you've got kind of a long straight line going on. Then you're going to bow down to the front and roll round. So it's different to when we are circling just the rib cage. We're actually moving from the hips. So just feel into that and notice that difference as to when we do it the other way. And then we'll go back in the opposite direction. So just keeping that kind of long flat back this time as opposed to kind of wiggling through the spine. Just notice where you feel the stretch is different and each sort of part and portion of that movement. And then just come back to centre. Just rolling those shoulders up, back and down. So give those shoulders a nice big roll. Opening through there. You let those yawns out. Good. And then see if you can do one forwards, one back. So we're trying to separate those shoulders. Moving one forwards, one back. Yeah, lots of coordination on a Sunday morning. If you're doing the replay, whenever that might be. And reverse those circles. If you've got them opposites, doesn't matter if not, give them a wriggle and then shake it out. Good. Take a big squeeze of the shoulders, squeeze of the face, big inhale. Just hold everything, hold the breath for a second. And then exhale, let them go. So we're going to just roll gently over onto all fours. And then just have those fingers spread nice and wide, knees underneath the hips. And we'll just take some more circling motions. There's lots of circling motions today. Rocking and circling. All very calming again for the nervous system. I always remember learning when I was quite young for some reason, that if you need to calm a dog down, you should circle, massage it in circles. So must be something to this. Reverse your circles back the other way. And then bring those fingertips out to the outside edge and we're going to rock. So circles to rocking, rocking to circling. Little gentle rock side to side. And then if it feels okay, you can bring those fingertips all the way around towards the knees and you might just sit back onto the toes, tuck them under, stretch and hold here, or if it feels better, obviously keep that rocking motion and movement going. If your fingers don't work, if they don't twist all the way around, just have them out to the sides. They don't have to point back if that doesn't work for your wrists and your forearms and shoulders. So then just as you release each one, just release each wrist and give it a shake. Keep those toes tucked under and have the big toes nice and close or touching. And just see if you can, if you need to, you might have to just spread the little toes so it's also touching the floor. That one can sometimes get a bit left out and not be kind of actually spread. So just check in with that. My right foot definitely, the heel drops out, but if you can keep the heels closer together, but you'll find that then maybe those toes don't spread. So just feeling into what you need to be here. So we might stay supported or we might lift up and have that full stretch. Take a big inhale, sweep the arms wide, place that left arm over the right and give yourself a big hug or come into that eagle wrap of the arms. So take a big inhale and lift up and then we'll draw those elbows down and in, rounding through the spine. Inhale as we lift and look up. Elbows lift high. As we exhale, draw the elbows and tuck them in towards the rib cage. So one more time, inhaling to lift. And as we exhale, rounding down. If you can, you're holding this position for a moment. You're going to hold the breath with it. And then as we inhale, we release the arms. Give them a swing. Swap over. If you need to unravel those feet, unravel. Otherwise, right arm over left for our eagle, the other side. If you can stay with the stretch, the toe torture, that's one of my other teachers calls it, then stay with it. So tucking those elbows in as we exhale, inhaling to lift. So really important to stretch those feet out. We tend to work them so much the other way. Tuck them into shoes, walk them in flip-flops. Inhaling to lift. Last one as we exhale, rounding down, holding, pausing with the breath as well if we can. And then inhale, release the arms. And then definitely do let those feet unravel, so tops of the feet to land onto the mat, and then you can sit back into that kneeling pose. Maybe you come all the way back with those fingertips facing in towards the toes. Maybe you lift the chest, you can drop the head back if it feels nice, or you might just keep that chin tucked in. And you might even experiment lifting both the knees off the floor to get into the ankles. That feels yucky for me today, so I'm not going to go there. Might feel uncomfortable. Uncomfortable is okay if it's painful or too much. Don't ever go too far. Let's try and keep it within that nice limit. Then tuck your chin to your chest. Just walk yourself back forwards to the front of the mats. Just tuck the toes under, lift the hips, walk the feet towards the hands. Feet are going to be hip distance. And then find that fold down. So soft knees to begin with. We haven't really warmed up those legs yet. Just let the head dangle. Hang heavy. Find some sighing exhales. Let it all go. And And then just start to very slowly unravel. So just really roll through the spine. You can let the arms drop and let them be dragged up by each vertebrae, really stacking into that spine, pelvis tucking under, head, neck and shoulders the last things to come up. I'm going to lose my head on the camera, I think, so sorry if you can't quite see everything. So we're going to take a moment in our mountain pose. So our feet are hip distance, a little softness through the knees, shoulders down and back, a little squeeze at the bottom gently, chest nice and open, chin gently lifted. And then fingertips just gently reaching towards the floor. Palms can be inwards or maybe open to really extend that openness through our chest. And just close the eyes, make a moment of stillness in the body, or maybe your stillness is actually some gentle swaying, and that's okay. So just checking in here, if you release the arms and let them go, release the knees, release the legs, just soften and just stand. Just notice what you feel in your body. There's no right or wrong answer here, just what part of your body speaks to you, what parts are maybe working to keep you stable. If your eyes are still closed, there'll be some still kind of proprioception, little jiggles and what's the word? Twitches of muscles here and there. But just noticing what you're feeling. Maybe you feel some sluggishness or tiredness. Maybe you feel already energized on your Sunday morning. Just noticing. So we're going to take some tapping, some naadi tapping. So nadis being all those channels and pathways of energy through the body, that there's something like 72,000 they believe, the yogis believe. So we're going to take our fingertips and start with our head. So we're just going to tap onto the top of our heads, and just, you can do it like rainfall almost, so it's nice and light on the top of the head. So just start tapping, and then you can go to the back of the head, a little bit around the back of the skull. Excuse me, sneeze. And then to the side of the head, and then gently, very gently over the forehead, and as we come down the face, we're going to come onto the eyebrows, gently over the eyes, very gently over the eyes. You might even just 2 fingertips, tapping, 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 underneath the eyebrows, no, underneath the eyes, onto the cheekbones, across the face. So we're getting into the cheeks, the sides of the cheeks, the fleshy parts, the top of the lip, gently over the nose, underneath the lip, chin, neck, throat, front of throat, side of neck, back of neck, collarbones, start to get into that vagus nerve area. So just if you tips of fingers on tops of the collarbones, you'll feel that's actually where the vagus nerve joins through. Get onto that chest plate. A little gently, you can go a bit harder now obviously. Go into the chest, going across the chest. Then you're going to go under an armpit, under the side of the arm, under the other armpit. And then go on top of the shoulder, on top of the arm, down the top of the arm, down the top of the hand, the palm of the hand, up through the underside of the arm, and the other side, so top of the shoulder, down the top of the arm, top of the hand, under the arm, down the whole side bodies. You can go on the rib cage, tummy, each side, front, lower abdomen, across to the sides. Then we're on the tops of the hips, right into those hip creases. So although we're doing the nadis, we're also going to get a little kind of lymphatic work here, because this is how we stimulate the lymph too, nice and light. So sides of the hips, hip bones, bony bits, tops of the thighs, sides of the thighs, outside of the thighs, outside of the knees, tops of the knees, insides of the knees, insides of the calves, front of the shins, outsides of the shins, sides of the feet, tops of the feet. You're going to have to lift up, adrenaline pops, lift up the soles of the feet, do one at a time, little taps on the soles of the feet, tap, 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 tap. Then we're going up the backs of the legs, so Achilles, get into there, calves, hello, what are you doing? all the way up the calves, backs of the knees. Pay a little bit more attention to the backs of the knees because that's where there's more lymphatic points again. Back of the legs. Bottom. Kind of getting hard because now we've got to reach around over the top of the bottom. You may even change to the backs of the hands, sort of slapping or little gentle thumps, lower back, and as high up as you can reach on your mid back, and then tap yourself on the top of the back, up through the back of the head again, over the top of the face gently, and let it all go. So just find that gentle, relaxed position, not mountain pose, just relaxed posture, soft knees. Close the eyes. And now just see what the body's saying and where and what you feel. Hopefully, a little bit energised. I definitely do. I was really tired this morning, so that's made me feel a little bit better. Nice. So we're going to take some sun salutations. So we're going to take a round of sun salutation, then we're going to do some activation of the hip flexors and glutes, and then we're going to do the sun salutation again. So we want to see how it feels when we're doing each part of that. Actually, we're going to do the hip flexors, the glutes and the thighs, the quads. So pay special attention to your hips as you move, but also to the front of the thighs, especially if we're like stepping back and that kind of movement of dropping down. In fact, actually, before we start, just take a little gentle lunge back and see if you can get the knee to the floor, how tight that feels, where you kind of feel that. I really definitely feel it over the knee and actually in the hips. So it just kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how the hips and the quads are working. So, big toes nice and close, or touching, spread the rest of the toes, ground through the feet, little gap between the heels, soft knees, tuck the bottom under, shoulders back, find mountain pose, reaching those hands or open palms. Big inhale and exhale here. Inhale, reach the arms up, palms touch. And as we exhale, we're diving forwards, tipping from your hips into your fold. Into that long flat back as we lift. And exhale to fold. So walking or stepping back to your plank. And then knees drop, hover down. Inhale as we lift through cobra or up dog if you feel ready. And then pressing back or hips up to the sky for down dog. So just noticing where there's tension. Finding your breath in that down dog. Maybe have a little pedal of the heels or wiggle of the hips here. Or maybe just breathe into that down dog, your choice. And then just bend the knees, start to walk the feet in, or big step, feet to hands, come to that halfway lift. And exhale as you fold all the way back down. Sweep the arms wide and up as you inhale. And palms touch, and as you exhale, release. So we're going to activate our hip flexors and our glutes. So hip flexors, we're finding our belly button, we're finding our hip bone, and we're going about halfway in between. So use your fingertips, have a little poke into there. If you're not sure, use your kind of knuckle and have a rub around. Might feel quite tender. And when we're standing, it is a bit more difficult. If you do want to lie down, of course, you can do it lying down. But we'll just try and give it a little quick activation today. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be for ages. So have a feel into there. And then let's see what the other side feels like. So belly button, hip bone, halfway in between. Having a little poke into there. And if you're not sure, again, just give them a bit of a rub with the fists. Then we're going to find our points for our glutes, which are the base of the skull and then that jaw. So just to the inside of the jaw, if you can see there. So just getting in there. So start with one or the other. You might use your knuckles on the base of the skull. Getting in there. And then you can get to that inside jaw, which does feel pretty awful and can feel yucky. So we're pressing towards the front of the jaw and it's just behind the ear. So we're just kind of hooking on, and you will feel it feels quite lumpy, bumpy perhaps, or painful or tender. Just breathe. Give your jaw a little wiggle. and then come back to that front of the mat. So we'll go through that sun salutation again. So finding mountain pose, just take a moment to settle through the feet. Belly breath in, sigh it out. Take a big inhale. Palms reach overhead and touch, and as we exhale, diving forwards, tipping from your hip. Inhale for a long flat back, and exhale to fold. So walking, stepping or jumping back to chaturanga, or step back to plank, hover down with or without the knees lowered. Coming through for cobra or up dog, and then press it back to down dog. So just take a moment to hang that head heavy, lift those hips up and back. I don't know about you guys, but that really felt quite a lot easier, a bit stronger and a bit kind of, nicer. So just let that head dangle in your down dog. One more breath. Look between the hands, bend the knees, walk, step, or jump the feet to the hands, come to that halfway lift, and exhale to fold. Sweep the arms, widen up, palms to touch, and exhale to release. So let's go into sun salutation B. So sit the bottom back, sweep the arms forwards or up. Breathing, long spine, tailbone tucked under, and then exhale to fold forwards. Inhale, long flat back, and exhale to fold. So walking, stepping, jumping back to chaturanga or plank and lower down. Baby cobra or up dog, and then press it back to down dog. So this time left foot turns 45 degrees, bring the right foot through, give it help to get there. Press into the feet, sweep the arms, sink into that front knee. Beautiful. So breathing. So just notice here how tight the calf feels. For me it's really tight, that back foot. So just noticing that. And then frame the front foot, step it back, and hover down as you exhale. So you're inhaling to lift the chest, cobra or up dog. Cobra's a bit more of a back bend, up dog a bit more core, and then press back to down dog. So left foot turns 45 degrees, bring the right foot through, give it some help, press into those feet, and again noticing this calf. So does that back knee sort of bend in? Can you keep it straight? Are you nice and square through the hips? There's no right or wrong again, we're just noticing these things. So when we activate, we can see if there's been a difference and a change. So bring the hands down to frame that front foot, step it back. Exhale to hover all the way down. Baby cobra or up dog. And then press back to down dog. So really let that head be heavy. Shoulder blades away from one another. Long belly breaths. And then look between the hands, bend the knees, walk, step or jump, feet to the hands, come to the halfway lift, and exhale, fold. Sit the bottom back, sweep the arms either forwards or all the way up, tucking tailbone under, and then exhale to release. So we're going to activate for our quads and our calves, and then we'll do that one again and we'll see. So for our quads, we're going to start with our Peter Pan, so where we would place our hands if we were Peter Pan, so just kind of gripping the tummy at the front with our fingertips. So we can have a little squeeze and a little massage where those fingertips kind of end up and give that a little wriggle and a poke, and it might feel again quite tender because if we are really shut down through here, this area is going to be super tight. But if we are naturally open and our diaphragm works nicely, then it won't be so bad. But I'm sure for a lot of us it will feel a little bit tender and yucky. So giving it a nice massage into there. And then you can get to the very sides and the edges, so poke your fingertips between your ribs and your hips. You should be able to fit 3 fingers between sideways. But if you're sort of going, oh, I can just about fit 1 or 2, again, that means we're kind of really tight. It means this is all pulling downwards all the time and we're kind of here instead of here and open and lifted. So have a little feel into the side bodies. You might even need to kind of open the side and give it a little rub. And it can feel quite yucky in there. It can feel quite tickly almost, even if you're doing it to yourself. And then we're going to get into the back part where our sort of fists again would should sort of fit between the ribs and the hips. And obviously, you know, someone like myself, I'm a bit tilted here, so this area is going to get very tight. So we're trying to open up through there, give it a bit of a massage. That's our Peter Pan area. So if your quads ever feel really tight, actually working through here to help loosen them off. Then we're going to go through the quads themselves. So we're just going to use the very edge of that inside of the thigh. So kind of use your thumb and your finger and squeeze just above your knee, and you'll feel there's like a little ridge that we're going to go up into here. So we're just going to give it a bit of a massage with the thumb. You might just use your knuckle and get in there. And then you can do the same on the other side. You might use your thumb and kind of almost, I like to almost pull it out. You're kind of really separating that bit of muscle away from the inner thigh muscle. So it is the edge of the quads, not the inner thigh. The inner thigh, we can give it a little rub while we're there anyway. That's actually our abdominal points. So why not get them firing up? Good. And then we're going to do our calf points. So this time we find our belly button and we're going just up and out at 45 degrees. So we're above the belly button, but just up and out. And if we can imagine, we've got our six pack. 1, 2, 3. So we can go just below the first abdominal muscle. So that's the first abdominal muscle. I'm just below it, right into there. And just give it a bit of a poke. And again, we're pushing inwards. And again, this can be really tender. It's an adrenal point. So it can feel really quite tender if we're overwhelmed, overworked, overstimulated, overexcited, using our adrenaline. Da, da, da. Whew. And then we're going to get into that hip crease. So you might just gently use the fists to just sort of pump into there, or you can have a little poke into the hip crease, kind of the knicker line I call it, but obviously men don't wear your knickers, or maybe you do. Getting into there. Da, da, da. And then, difficult one to show you on here, we're going to use the very edge of it's the head of the fibula, so it's the bony bit of the muscle that, not the muscle, sorry, the bone that comes down the shin. So just the very outside, we've got, this is my knee, and then we're just on the edge, and you sort of need to hook onto it. And you'll feel if you hook just the side of it, if I go that way as well, you should be able to see. So just in there. So that's my kneecap, and we're just below, just poking in there. So you want to kind of give it a push backwards. It's actually really easy to do if you sit down. You can kind of go from above it and push down. So give it a little press down. Might feel a little bit tender, hopefully not too bad. And then while you're there, you may as well just give that all a nice little massage down through that muscle, the tibialis anterior, that shin muscle that does a lot of work. So give that a nice release. So same on the other side, bit of a poke, and then get into all of that muscle as it goes all the way down to the ankle. Ooh, maybe a little use of knuckles, get that blood flowing through that. Now we have to stand back up. Oh, can we do it without our hands? That was a big effort. Don't need to do it without your hands. Come back up when you're ready. Lovely. So we're going to go back through that second sun salutation, but first let's do the little step back lunge that we did. So just be very careful. I've done this before and smashed my knee. So all of a sudden it feels really easy to get down there. So just step back and notice how that might have changed, hopefully in the quads and then the thighs, maybe in the hips as well, because we've done the other activations. But just seeing what's different there. And then let's go through our Surya Namaskar B, our sun salutation B. So sitting into those heels, tailbone tucked under, arms lifted, breathing. Big inhale, and as you exhale, fold forwards. Inhale, long flat back. And exhale to fold. So walking, stepping, or jumping back to chaturanga, or step back to plank and hover down. Lifting to cobra or up dog. Pressing back to down dog. So left foot turns 45 degrees. Bring the right foot through. Give it help to get there if you need. Pressing into those feet. And then noticing that left calf now. So it's still a bit tight for me, but it's definitely not quite as pinchy. Big inhale in that warrior one, and as you exhale, frame the front foot. Step it back. Hover all the way down. Inhaling to lift through the chest. Exhale. exhaling to lift back or press hips to heels first. Right foot turns 45 degrees, bring the left foot through, give it help if you need. Sweeping those arms up. Oh, that side feels much better. So bending into that left knee. Finding your warrior one. One more breath. As you exhale, frame that front foot, step it back. Hovering down. And then inhaling to open through that collarbone, chest, and press back to down dog. So just hang your head heavy, long exhales. Noticing if down dog feels any different for you. Then look between the hands, bend the knees. Walk, step or jump feet to the hands, come to the halfway lift. And exhale to fold. Sit the bottom back. Sweep the arms forwards or up, tucking tailbone under. Even my forward fold felt better actually. My neck even, I couldn't feel it, whereas I could feel it on those first few. It's really interesting what shifts through the body when we activate our centre, our core, our hip flexors, glutes, thighs. And release. Come to stand. Beautiful. So we're going to work our way back down to the floor. So let's start with a forward fold though. So just start to open through the spine, little back bend, squeeze the elbows back, squeeze the bottom, push the hips forwards. And as you exhale, tip from the hips, diving into your fold. And we're going to hook onto those big toes with the peace fingers, or we're going to place the palms of the hands under the soles of the feet. So you choose your fold this morning. Drop that head, let it dangle. Remembering anyone can get their palms of the hands underneath. You just need to bend your knees as much as you need to, and then you can lengthen through the legs. Find your breath, slow it down. Maybe use long, sighing exhales, letting go. Untuck fingers and toes. And then as you come up, just come halfway, little flat back. Hands might be on the shins there. And then as you fold all the way down, we're just going to sit ourselves into a yogi squat. So just start to walk the feet, toes out slightly, heels in, and then we're going to bring our hands or elbows into the insides of the knees, hands together. Lift nice and tall in our squat. And breathe. And then slowly sit yourself back onto your bottom. So I'm going to bring the left foot so that the heel is into the back of the thigh or hip, and then the right heel is in front of the ankle of the left foot, if that makes sense. Good. Oh, my belly's going now, I'm getting hungry. So to wrap that left arm round, so we start to hug the knee as if we could end up underneath our armpit, and we're twisting. So we might just lift tall and twist here. We might look behind if it feels okay. If you want a bit more, that elbow can come to the outside of the knee to take that twist further. What I find if I do that is actually start leaning onto the back hand, and that's not very comfortable. So I'm going to kind of hug my knee instead and use that because it's the twist that we want to feel here. And keep lifting the crown of the head tall to the sky so that its back hand can actually be kind of free if it needs to be. Just the fingertips there to keep us steady. One more breath. And then gently come back through centre. Now, keeping the legs as they are, just cross the right foot over the knee. So the foot is flat on the floor, and then we can stay in the twist again. So we're still twisting the same way we just went, hugging the knee. And just notice the shift in the stretch where that now feels, where you feel it now. So it might be, for me, it's less about the twist, and it's more now about that stretch in the glutes. So just shifting it very slightly. Keep breathing. And then we can either stay here if that feels like it's enough for us today, or we're going to slide a little bit further. So we're trying to slide that knee in line. So what we need to do with the bottom foot is push the foot up to the kind of parallel. We're trying to get those knees stacked in line, squashing the knees so that they end up over one another, and pulling the feet wide so we're in our cow face pose. If it's too much, for me, again, I've got really good poker face, this is really tight right now. So if it's too much, for some people it will be, just keep the first posture we were in, so the foot's flat and that other foot is kind of underneath, tucked under. But if we can stay here, great. If we can, we're leaning into it if you want more. But if you're thinking this is plenty, then stay where you are. But if you're not feeling enough, then have a little fold into it, and that will increase the stretch into those hips. Some people find this really easy though, so if you're sitting there going, oh, I'm not feeling anything, good, lucky you. It's a super simple, nice stretch for your hips, but some of us it's going to be super tight. And what you might do is just massage the soles of the feet and just press the thumb across the arch, give it a little pressure. So again, there's sort of acupressure points along there, so we can just literally press with the thumb, move along, press, move along. And that gets a nice little massage into all those juicy bits, arches of the feet. You might even go right under the soles of the feet using the knuckles, give them a proper massage under there. You might just stretch your toes while you're here, spacing them out, stretching them forwards, backwards. You could even just place your hands onto the soles of the feet and just feel that nice warmth. So gently and carefully when you're ready, just coming up, and we're going to remove that top leg very slowly if we need to, just give it a little bit of gentle help, and then unravel those legs. So bring the feet slightly wide, just give a nice gentle rock side to side with those knees, windscreen wiper. That's our cow face pose. So we'll do all of those bits on the other side. So this time the right foot just knee tucks in. You can have that bottom leg out straight if you need to, but if you can, foot tucked in, and then left heel to the ankle. And then we're wrapping the right arm round this time to hug that knee, and we're twisting. So lifting tall, and it's all about the twist that first time. So how far can we twist? Can we look behind us? Do we want to hook the elbow round to press the knee so that we get the kind of extra help to twist? Or are we just hugging the knee nice and tight? So using the breath. One more breath here. And we'll carefully and gently come back to centre. So this time we put that foot over so that we start to shift the stretch to keep the foot flat, and then we're still hugging that top knee. So left knee, right arm twisting, and now we should feel maybe a little glute stretch of that left leg. And we can still work on that twist here. Breathing. And then gently and carefully coming back to centre. So either going back and just staying again in that twist, or moving the foot away from the hip, the left, right leg even, and then the left foot is shuffling over so we get that kind of, they're parallel, our shins, or they're trying to be parallel. They're trying to be a one long line, not parallel. Is it parallel? No, not parallel. In one long line. And we're squeezing those knees together, and they're trying to stack on top of one another. For me, they're off centre. I can't quite get my knee on top of the other, but we're working towards that. And again, this side might feel better. You might need to lean into it to feel more. Try to keep that, no, bad side. So if this, for me, I've just realised this hip is hanging off the ground. So I need to try and sit both sit bones down. So also check in with those sit bones. Have you really kind of shifted, and try and keep them low. So if you want more, you're leaning. If you're happy where you are or not happy, breathe. As long as, again, we're not in that pain, we just need to be able to breathe through it. So if we need to come back out of it a bit more. If our breath is staying steady, that's a good sign that we're okay with it. And also another way of sort of checking in with it, use your pain scale. So 10 being the worst pain you can imagine. And if we're at a 6 and it's sort of uncomfortable, that's okay. But if we start getting 7, 8s and 9s, it's too much and we need to back off there. So So again, maybe massaging the arches of the feet more as a distraction, if nothing else. Breathing into it. I mean, you might be fully folded with your head almost on the floor, and that's okay if you're just in the position. So maybe some arches of the feet massage, maybe the soles of the feet with the knuckles, a little bit of pressure under there. Maybe we're just twisted in that second posture we were in, stretching the glutes. Poppy gave a big sigh there, that was super cute. Don't think you can quite hear it though. She's tired herself out now. So very slowly and very carefully, gently coming up if you're folded, and let's give that top leg some nice help to come off. The release is the relief. And let those feet be slightly widened again, just windscreen wipers side to side, really let them open. So we're going to come to, if you've got enough room, the option if you don't have room is to come to butterfly, but if you have space in your room, then maybe you're okay to just open those legs slightly wider into a straddle sit. So your straddle sit might be kind of a closed version, it might be wider than this, so whatever feels right for you. And just sort of try and sit yourself onto the front of your sit bones when you get there, so that you can kind of shuffle your weight forward. But we're lifting tall as we do that, and then we're walking forwards. Whew. Yeah, I did a little workout yesterday, so I'm not walking forward too far, but go as far as you can. So we're folding at the hips, we're keeping the spine long, and this is where, if you've got bolsters, cushions or anything like that, they might come in handy, because we can kind of flop ourselves onto something, we can rest and give our head a little bit of support whilst being in that stretch. So just a softness through the knees if you need to. You can always bend the knees in this position if hamstrings are disgustingly tight, but if we can stay with just even sitting with our legs long, then we know we're at least working those hamstrings, and we don't have to lean forward at all. We might just be propped upright, and that is fine. So hamstrings and inner thighs, we're probably feeling both. So just breathing through. Try not to let the toes roll all the way in. So try and kind of the tops of the feet are facing up to the top of the to the ceiling. The toes aren't rolling forwards. But feet can be relaxed. They're not pointed or flexed through those feet. We're just allowing ourselves to breathe. And after a little while, you might find that it's eased slightly, and you can kind of wiggle your way forwards into that fold again. So the spine is still long. We're trying to fold at the hips. If we could land, our belly would be on the floor, our chest would be on the floor, and our chin would be on the floor. If we could land. We can dream about that. Always looks amazing when someone just like lies down flat, folded in half. So just breathing into it, using the breath. One more breath here. And then we're going to very slowly and carefully walk our way back up. And then carefully release the legs. Whew. Give them a bit of help. And again, another rock, windscreen wiper, let them just release. So one more hippie one. So I know we haven't moved loads, so you might even be cooler now as well, depending on your temperature at home. So if you do want any layers, do grab them, because we're going to just do one more yin posture where we are holding, and then we'll end up on our backs anyway. So now might be a good time to grab any layers, because we are holding still. Unless you've got loads of sun on you and you're beautifully warm, then obviously that's good. So we're gonna, if you have got some kind of pillow, cushion or something, you might want it for your head. So just bring it to one end of your mat. And then we're gonna set ourselves up to come into swan pose. So, don't need the dog toy. So bring the right foot, the foot is at one edge of your, short edge of your mat, and then the knee is gonna be at the other. So we're kind of in that nice parallel shin position. And then just sweep the leg round, the left leg round. So we're kind of in that hurdler's stretch. So it looks like we're about to sort of jump over the hurdles. And then we can just stay here. This might be enough, or we could even fold forwards here, and we're still gonna get a stretch in that right glute. If it feels okay to, though, we're gonna walk our hands forwards and walk that left leg back. So we're straightening out the left leg as if it could come to splits. The left leg is essentially in splits, and the right leg is bent at the front for our pigeon pose. Beautiful. So this might be where we stay. We might need to be upright. We might wanna bring our elbows to our pillow or to the floor if it's okay to get those elbows all the way down to the floor. We might just stack our fists and pop our head onto our fists. We might be lying out all the way flat here as well. So, and maybe even you want that pillow under the chest so that you can lie flat and be supported. So just wherever feels good for you. We're going to be here for a couple of minutes. So just trying to, again, use those little markers. Is your breath getting harder or quicker or kind of more tense? Or are you in pain? Obviously, that's a good one. Or is it getting above that 6 out of 10 level where it's too uncomfortable? And if so, just dropping back to that hurdler position instead, so the back knee also bent sort of 90 degrees. So just breathing your way through it and checking in with your upper body, because we are supported perhaps on our forearms or our hands or our arms are outstretched. Sometimes we really press them into the floor to kind of take some of the weight away from the hips. So just notice if you've done that, and can you let those relax and let go? So just breathing into that posture, the tightness that might be in the right glute and the left hip flexor. Very slowly and carefully, just walking your way up. You're going to roll towards that bent leg, so just roll yourself off that hip. And then we can just kind of roll around to the back of the mat, or you can just sweep your legs round so that the left leg becomes your front leg and your right leg becomes your back leg. So the left leg, the left shin is going to be parallel, the right leg is in that kind of hurdler position to start with, behind us. And remembering we might just bow down at the front here to get a nice stretch on the left thigh and hip, or we can roll the right leg out the back so that we can be nice and flat here. So just really think about the hips being nice and square to the floor so that the right hip isn't sort of lifted up and we're not lying onto the left hip, we're actually just on the shin and we're just supported by the front shin and knee here basically. That's the only thing that's on the floor. And then the right knee is just touching the floor as well, and the right foot is touching the floor. And then again, find a position where you can rest, where you feel supported, but the upper body isn't doing too much, isn't pressing into the floor, isn't holding tight, fists aren't squeezed, head isn't tense and tight to your mouth and jaw and forehead. And then tune into your belly breath. So just very slowly and carefully thinking about lifting yourself up and rolling onto that front knee again, sorry, the hip of the front leg. And then bring the legs around, and again if you need to just windscreen wipe, you might do that here. Or you might just lie yourself down onto your back and take a knee hug or a knee rock or a windscreen wiper here. So just really checking in with those hips, thighs, seeing what you feel after a lot of opening through there. And a bit of a different practice today, so a bit more activated than Ashtanga, but we definitely worked into lots of different areas. So just notice as you go throughout your day how that impacts you today, how it feels having done a little bit of a different practice. And then if there's any final moves, happy baby or knee rock circles, ankle circles is now what I've decided I need, but anything you need in this moment before you find your final resting position. Oh, click, clonk, clonk. Now is your chance to do that. Maybe a little bit of butterfly. Maybe you choose to be in Shavasana, the way we started the practice, with a pillow or cushion underneath the upper back so that we are lifted and open through the upper back. And then we can still find that little bit of heart opening and chest opening and stretching while we're there. So your choice to lie flat or with that little bit of upper back opening. We spend so much of our day rounded through the upper back. Working, driving, everything we do is very kind of rounded and forward. So being able to spend time with that chest and heart wide open is super important. So just allowing yourself to fully rest, fully relax here. Being held by your mat and the floor beneath you and the earth beneath that. So just imagining all those layers of earth that hold you, support you, provide you your home. And right now they're offering you that pure rest. They're allowing you to be fully held. And they give you permission to just be. So just knowing if you choose to stay here for a few more moments or minutes. With your breath, with that earth support, fully held. What a lovely place to stay. But if you are ready to come back into the room, just starting to take a bigger, deeper breath in, filling up the belly. And maybe sighing it out, letting it go. Filling up completely, big deep breath. Full long exhale. You might hug those knees into the chest. Take a little rock side to side or roll onto whichever side you feel called to roll onto. And then when you're ready, just finding a seated position. We'll just close the practice with a couple of breaths together and one on. Big deep inhale, sigh it out, let it go. Inhale deeply, exhale completely. Inhaling to om.
Namaste.